My name's Joe Tucker. I got a mate. His name's Jeff Miles. We're in the process of creating a portfolio of properties to give us $150,000 of passive income. We're sharing the tools, the tips, the tricks, the deals, everything that you could think of. We're sharing you the good, we're sharing you the bad, we're sharing you the ugly. We've done a renovation that did well. But did it do great? No, it didn't. It didn't do spectacular, but it's strategic. The reason why we bought it was for a reason. And this is the people's portfolio. This is how we're going to get to $150,000 in passive income in under 10 years. Right now, it's taken 14 months and we have 5 properties. We're coming up to number 6, and that's what this session is all about. Hey everyone, my name's Joe. As I already said, we created the Oz Property Investment Community. We are here, we've got 82,000 members, maybe even 83,000. But each week we interview top property experts. Tonight, it's Jeff and I. We're updating you on the portfolio. Where the hell is this portfolio? Guys, it's been 14 months, where it's at. Because we've now hit a snag. We're negatively cash flowed and we don't like it. So rather than sitting on our hands, we're going to do something about it. And that's what this session is about. We also run the Level Up community, which is all about teaching people how to do this stuff so that they can go out there and do it themselves without spending a crazy amount of money trying to learn. But anyway, let's jump into this session because this is how we're going to go from negatively geared to positively geared over a period of time. So let's jump in. I guess what I wanted to do is break it down simply. Property investing has 3 stages. It has the accumulation stage, it has the consolidation phase, and then it has the cash flow phase. And this is typically, if we're seeing a more aggressive approach, the kind of time frames that you will see people are acquiring their assets. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're saying, well, my accumulation phase has lasted 10 years, that's absolutely fine. That's no stress at all. Like, great, that's worked. These are just some more aggressive numbers. Well, I'll break down the accumulation, and then Jeff, can you break down the consolidation phase and what that kind of means? Because this is the phase that we are now stepping into for our portfolio. So
I think we might step back, but we'll see. We'll straddle both the accumulation and consolidation. But go on, explain the accumulation, Joe. Tell us all about it.
So the accumulation phase is all about finding the properties, right? It's building the asset base that's going to get you to your ultimate goal. So it's about accumulating the types of properties that you can go out there to buy. Now, I'm not saying every single property that you buy needs to have value add potential, but as you'll start to see, this consolidation phase with value add potential deals really helps us to keep pushing the portfolio forward and keep growing. So accumulation is really, it's pretty much getting to a point at which the banks then say no to you, or getting close to the bank saying, no more lending. We're not going to lend you any more property and we're not going to lend you any more debt. So that's kind of where you get stuck. But what will happen is, again, we have cash and equity, borrowing ability and serviceability and cash flow. There will be points where you've got 1 or 2 properties and the bank is saying no. This might just mean you need to wait 2 years or 3 years or something for that borrowing ability to increase as your income increases and your serviceability increases, but your accumulation phase may not be over. I don't want to complicate this too much, but I hope that is making sense. Jump in the comments saying, yes, this is crystal clear. Joe, you are looking good tonight. But consolidation, Jeff.
Well, I mean, yeah. So what I was going to say with that is, I think that's, I want to know what people's goals are as well. Like, because this is as much your community as it is ours. We built this community to help you out. So jump into the questions and comments. Like if you've got that curly thing that's then keep you up at night. But the consolidation stage is where somebody said yes. Ralph said yes. It is making sense. That's crystal clear. But we love to hear questions as well. So if it's not, even if you have a clarification, drop it in there. There's no silly questions. But the consolidation is where you start to think and say, take a step back and say, okay, look, I built this. The reason why you built the portfolio, I said, I want this passive income. I want to be able to have the cocktails. I want to be able to build the wells in a developing country. I want to spend more time, be able to go to the kids' sporting events whenever I want to. I don't want to have to. So it's okay, great. There's that big sort of pot of gold in the rainbow at the end. And that's saying, okay, great. Right now, this portfolio is costing me whatever it is, $70,000, $80,000. negatively per year, or even 50 if you hold a couple of properties. How do I then sort of start to reel that back in? Because yes, you've got negative gearing, but we don't know. So Ralph asked the question, what is the current value of the portfolio? We'll share that. Good question, Ralph. I love when people are engaged and asking these questions. But for me, I think it's about 4 million roughly at the moment, depending on valuations. But we'll share the numbers, so stay tuned. But it's then about saying, okay, well, what are those sort of cash cows that I can add into that portfolio, such as granny flats, such as maybe a subdivision, and maybe that might be. So stay tuned. We'll unpack what that subdivision looks like. But it's then saying increasing the cash flow and decreasing how much it's out of pocket for you as well. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. As I said, granny flats, maybe commercial. Too early for commercial and consolidation, I feel. Others may disagree, but that's okay. Granny flats, subdivisions, all those sort unit blocks potentially as well, duplexes, all that sort of things that are typically higher yields, but may have higher costs. So, Joe.
Yeah. I guess to kind of round out the consolidation piece. Essentially, the point of it is to get the debt down, because what's happening is you're acquiring property and you're going to be getting some debt down, and you're going to struggle with the cash flow side of things. So the consolidation phase is to get things that are going to create value so that you can then do it. Be that the subdivision, be it the granny flats, kind of like what Jeff was saying. You're going to spend $200,000. The banks say no, you can't borrow to buy a property, but you can borrow $200,000 and put a granny flat on, which will help your cash flow situation and actually put you in a better position to be able to then buy your next property. So those are the types of consolidation strategies that we talk about. And then essentially we have the final phase, which is cash flow. And this doesn't have to be, again, these start to blur together. So we're going to talk to a deal that we're doing on one of our properties where we're adding value to it, which is a part of the consolidation phase, but it is also going to be a pinnacle piece to our cash flow little crown there. So again,
little jewel in the property portfolio crown.
What I want to do is break down the acquisitions that we've made so far so that everyone's up to date, because this is the first time listening to us or that you've followed us along the entire journey. 14 months ago, we made the decision to go out there and build a portfolio. So what we did is we are aggressive investors, and we have gone out there to purchase multiple properties. So number one was in Victoria. A wise woman once said, you can have everything you want in life, just not at the same time. Very true. Very true. Okay. Victoria purchase. We bought a property for $606,000, and all we did was a light renovation and put a wall up, and that property is now worth $660,000. So we spent like $10,000, put a wall up, now got $660,000. So that has given us $54,000 of equity. Number two, we then purchased another property that was a 2-bed, 1-bath property on 800 square meters. This is called our Townsville subdivision, and we're going to be talking in detail about what this subdivision looks like and what this means, so stay tuned for that. $435,000. I looked at the valuation today. It is $540,000. So this property in the last 14 months has grown $105,000. And then our third purchase was a Geelong block of units. So essentially the way that we thought about these blocks of units, it is $1,015,000. We negotiated $10,000 off the purchase price, so we got it $1,015,000. That property is now valued at $1.2 million. So we've made $185,000. The way to think about these things is, like, I know sometimes it's scary to invest $1 million, but essentially it's 4 units. So $1.2 million divided by 4. That means we have $300,000. So essentially, we've just made 4 $300,000 acquisitions because they're units. The goal is to strata subdivide these, and this property right here is going to be an absolute money maker for us, because we're going to individually strata title these. We're going to pay $40,000 in acquisition, in subdivision costs to individually strata title them and sell them instead.
Have you checked that number, by the way, Joe? I think it could be 60 or 70, but anyway, whatever the number is, it's going to add lots of value.
Yeah, it'll add. No, I checked it. We did the guy and got him out there, and he did all the things. So yeah, it's checked. Okay. We bought our unit block. That is a three. That's made us, however much it's made us, $185,000. We then bought a full renovation, which was a bloody nightmare, and it was really annoying. But we wanted to buy in that market. There's no way you'll ever be able to buy a property in that market for $530,000 ever again. We did. We spent a lot of money on the renovation. We got the value to $645,000. So we have $115,000 worth of equity, but we did spend like $80,000-$90,000. So that's not really a massive chunk of cash, but we did it because it was a good property in a good location that we could buy at the right price and not overcapitalize on our renovation. And then the fifth one is our most recent purchase. This is a deal in Victoria. We paid $650,000 for this. This is a corner block. This is a corner block, yeah, $650,000. It's still valued at $650 because we just purchased it, so no equity just yet. But we are going to subdivide that because it had a pre-approval, an application for a two-story house on it. We're not going to do that right now. Again, we're in the consolidation phase, but we don't need to build that portfolio just yet. So far, the property portfolio is $459,000 worth of equity up, and pretty cool. $920,000 worth of equity. We've got $183,000 worth of usable equity. It's at this point you guys are saying, holy crap, Joe and Jeff, this is a stupid portfolio. This has nothing to do with me. You guys have jumped ahead of the game, and like, I kind of hear you. Like, when we started this portfolio, when we had 1, 2, 3 purchases, it felt really real and attainable. So the goal here is to, one, build $150,000 of passive income, but also create content that people are going to enjoy. So if we have our own portfolio, this is not an overnight success. This is us working our asses off over the past 10, 15 years, building our own portfolios to be able to afford to do this kind of stuff. So I just wanted to put that caveat on that because I understand this is not what everyone can do. But what I want to show you is this: the 3 to 4 conversion that you can do if you go out there and do it correctly. The unit block that you can strata subdivide if you're smart enough and know how that works. If you do the thing, the Melbourne renovation that's made us $115,000. The subdivision that we're doing in Townsville, like all of these little things add up on value. But yeah, just know that. But also, it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Show us the negative cash flow, Joe.
Oh, shit. No, I don't want to show you. Okay, let's go through the macro numbers. We have 5 acquisitions. The asset value is $3.7 million, almost. $500,000, $460,000 worth of equity. Total equity gained. Total value at cost, $100,000. Total cash down, $650,000. So this is cash and equity. So $650,000 is not a small amount of money. Annual rent is $166,000. Our negative cash flow right now is $111,000 every like this year. Now, one point that I want to make is that this is not going to be the same every single year going forward into perpetuity. Our interest rates are on average 6.8. So if we drop this down, I'm going to drop this one to 3, which will then drop the the average.
You're not going to get 3% interest rate.
No. Just watch this average, because this will change the debt situation. So let's say we drop it down to 5.3%. That negative cash flow was $111,000. By losing 1 percentage point, it's now $80,000 negative. Again, very, very expensive and difficult to hold, but more realistic. So this is the challenge of when you acquire a lot of properties very fast in a portfolio in a market that has interest rates at 6%. So it's not all smooth sailings. Yes, I know I made it sound really good because it is really good, but just know that it is negative. But what happens is if you buy this property, if you did this over 15 years, it would be a lot smoother from a negative cash point of view.
Yeah.
Right. So deals Jeff and I bought.
There's about 10 to 15 to 20K negative per property, which kind of the reason why it's a little bit more with this one is because the unit block, the yield is pretty good on that. The gross yield is about 6%, but the debt is also higher as well. Somebody said, "Have you guys tapped into Super SMSF for this yet?" So just to
Good
be clear,
question.
this is a combined portfolio in various structures with joint ventures behind the scenes. So we don't. I mean,
No, not
SMSF would.
joint venturers. There's no other people. There's Joe and
Oh
Jeff.
no, a joint
Yeah.
venture.
Ah.
But yeah, so the super that wouldn't work for this arrangement because then I would have to form an SMSF with Joe, and I mean I like Joe, but who knows where we're going to
No,
be
we wouldn't. No,
in
we're not that.
30
We
years.
love each other, but we're not in love with each other. If that makes sense.
No, but it's an interesting question though, because Joe, how do you? Because I have money sitting there on my SMSF now, between the sort of family unit, we'd probably have
Yep.
200 to 250. Now, I'm not saying whether you should or shouldn't go and speak to your financial planner and accountant, but it's
Yeah.
really something I've just like, do I need to be putting that money to better use? And the way I think about that, at least, is I'm like in 5 or 10 years' time, I'll probably start to be considering that a little bit more heavily once I get into my early to mid 40s, because then I can see what that sort of landscape looks like a little bit clearer. People may disagree with that, but what do you think about that anyway?
Well, the way I frame self-managed super funds is I'm a property investor and I'm very active and I like to do stuff and I hate sitting on my hands and I hate not being able to move. So when the bank tells me no and I've got 200, 300, $400,000 sat in my SMSF and I look at my returns over the past 10 years that I've gotten and I'm like, hold on, I've got just $200,000 and you're giving me like a 3%, 4% return on
You
my
can get better than that
200,000.
anyway. For
Okay,
all
let's
those
say
people
it's 5%.
8%. I reckon you get 8% easily. Well, not easily, but you
What?
could potentially.
Okay. Well, don't make me go off on a tangent here. But I think if I'm fast enough, I can bring up a calculator that talks to exactly this topic, right? So like, why do we have our money just sat there doing absolutely nothing? So let's do it. Okay, you've got me, Jeff. You've hooked me.
Okay.
We have $200,000, right? We have $200,000 of initial capital.
Yep.
And we're going to go and invest this into the share market. We're going to invest this into the share market at a 7% return over 30 years. This is our self-managed super fund.
So, sorry, Joe, but I'm going to say this information is purely for general information. This is not personal advice. Go and speak to your accountant, financial planner, particularly for this thing. But let's have a chat about it.
Yes, this is not. Yeah, good point. Very good. Okay, so now what we're going to do as a comparison is use that $200,000 as a deposit, and we're going to go buy an asset that's worth $700,000. And instead of the average property growth has been 7.2 or 6.9% over the last 30 years, depending on who you ask. Let's run this at a 5% growth rate. Okay. Let's look at the difference of what happens if we go down option 1 or option A or option B. And it gets absolutely smoked. Like, this is what happens when your portfolio starts to grow. How much net equity do we have? The difference is $1.5 million over 30 years. So
and yes, for those out there screaming at the screen, you can leverage in shares. Can you do it safely?
Yeah.
Maybe not as safe.
I have not met many people who leverage shares. Like I've met people that buy ETFs that are leveraged, which is great. You get a little bit extra bump. But anyway, look, it's $3 million in 30 years time. If you based on these numbers here, it would turn into $3 million asset. And then a $1.5 million. So your $1.5 million difference. This is why I think people are really considering self-managed super fund, because they're sitting on their hands. So I want to talk to the time frame, because I think that that's a very important question to note. So our time frame is 10 years. That's the time frame in which we want to do this thing. So there's a couple of, so what do we do in 10 years time? So let's just roll this portfolio out in 10 years time. Joe and Jeff, what are you going to do with it? So essentially, I'll share my screen real quick, and you can see we've got the acquisitions. So property number 1, property number 2, 3, 4, 5, and ignore property number 6 right now, because that's coming. You get excited. This is it. So if we bought these properties for $660,000, and on average it grows at 6% capital growth, which in Australia the average is 6.9% to 7.2. This property in 10 years' time would be worth $1,181,000, right? So bought for 660. It's now worth 1,189,000. And this is the golden nugget. This is the light bulb moment that I hope a couple of people have from here, is because the in-between doesn't matter. Now, the in-between, okay, it doesn't matter. The in-between does matter. The in-between now and then, you need to be able to survive to hold these things. But I'll show you why this is so valuable and important. But what am I paying now? Like, what did I pay now? What is it worth in the future? And then, so yes, it's gone from 540 at 6%. Now, the unit block, I don't believe is going to grow at the same rate. But in all fairness, we're going to do a subdivision, sell off the debt anyway. But yeah, I've just undershot that at 4% rather than 6% because cash flowing assets typically don't perform as well. So we've bought in for 3.695 million, and in 10 years' time, it'll be worth $6,244,000. And you're like, okay, cool. Well, why does that matter, Joe? I don't really. They're like, that's cool. That's big numbers. Thank you. But what of it? And let me just bring up my what of it. Okay. So the way it is, we have goals in our life, and our goal is $150,000 of passive income. Our portfolio before, if we decided to sell it, is worth $6 million. So this is option.
In 10 years' time?
In 10 years' time, our portfolio at those rates that I just spoke about will be worth $6,244,000. The debt that we have is $3,247,000. Once we sell down the portfolio, pay our capital gains tax, pay our sales agents fees, we will be left with $2.4 million. So this is option number one for investing in a 6.5% returning portfolio, maybe a commercial asset, maybe this new asset that we're actually buying into. Maybe we don't sell it, maybe we just keep it. But option number one is sell the entire portfolio in 10 years, capitalize that. We can then have $157,000 of passive income. Why? Because the portfolio is $6 million. The debt is $3 million. After tax, we're left with $2.4 million tax-free after 10 years. Not tax-free, sorry. You got to pay tax on that. So it's still got to pay tax on that income.